So we're going to talk about some feelings, those pesky little things. Sometimes we just don't like to deal with them, you know? The one thing that I want to start off with is to say that no matter how you think creation happened, I do not believe that at any point during the planning of this did somebody come up with a brilliant idea. Okay, we're going to take lots of emotions, overwhelm, overload, confuse, overthink, so that we can have people immerse themselves in dealing with their emotions for most of their life, or avoid them. That's not what happened. Not at all. And that's what I want to try to shift today, is our awareness and our understanding of our feelings, and that they are actually tools. Beautiful tools. They were meant to be tools. So, first off, I just kind of want to get a quick baseline definition, because I think emotions and feelings oftentimes, they're so intertwined and they're so connected, and they're interchangeable in a lot of ways, and I will use both words in this, but I want to make sure. Google calls emotions automatic physical reactions. This is when you tense up, this is when you sweat, this is when you get warm, this is when your heart rate goes up. It's not really anything you control, it just happens. It's almost like a trigger a little bit. And if you can sit with it in a matter of 90 seconds, they have, all these nice little studies. If you can sit with it and allow it to move through you within less than 90 seconds, whatever emotion that you're feeling, whether it's joy or sadness, will actually move through you if you just let it. Now the other thing is feelings. Now feelings is more of a cognitive, conscious, mental interpretation of emotions. And we usually filter them through our process, through how we perceive things, our belief system, that lovely little story that we tell ourselves and it's told to us and our experiences. These things tend to cling. We hang on to them longer, we add on to them, and they can get a little bit heavier. And in my personal life, I feel like, whether it's practice or in life, I think it's a very common thing for people to struggle with connecting, getting in touch, and identifying what they actually feel, much less go as far as to express it. Okay? So, let's be honest. We know we've been here, probably us as well as other people we've been in it. How many times have you said, well, how you feeling? Well, I think that was really horrible. That shouldn't have happened. Well, I know, but how did you feel about it? Well, I think something should happen. There should be consequences to this. Okay, but how do you feel? Anybody ever had those circular conversations that people are really okay with telling you what they think, but really getting in touch with how you feel? Because to face it, to identify it, to give it a name, to feel it, to identify it, that's a little harder, because that, we have been taught by our story, makes us feel vulnerable and weak. But remember, it's the story. It's that created self. Remember, it doesn't make any difference who, what, when, and where. It's the sort of things that have happened to us in life, what we've gone through, all of our experiences. We create that story. And we keep living from that story. And a lot of it is a part of survival where we're adapting rather than actually living. Well, but as we grow and we get all this spiritual information and we read the books and we do all this stuff, we decide, I want to change my story, which is great. But a lot of times all we're doing is changing the storyline or the script, the narrative. To really, truly change the story, it's about getting underneath of it into the feelings of what we were feeling that got us where we are. Because ultimately, we all want to be doing more living than surviving. And why would we want to do this? Because this isn't easy. This is sometimes tough for us to do. And it goes back to the basics. We are energetic, vibrational, energy beings. And thoughts, feelings, and actions create a triangle of everything that we create, attract, make, and manifest. Thoughts and actions are going to be a whole nother talk. But feelings, they're vibrational. So the only way for us to continue to be who and what we want to be is to be conscious of what kind of vibration we're putting out there and what we're doing with it. So July's been a full month. There's been a lot going on behind the scenes with, business and stuff like that. And it came time that I needed a title and affirmation so that I could pass it on that I'm always bugging everybody else for. And so I sat down and something came to me, which is exactly what got put out there today. And I thought, perfect. And I sent it out. And then I moved into a state of panic. Because I'm like, oh, because I've got all these balls in the air, thoughts and things and puzzle pieces, but I'm looking at it going, oh God, how am I going to pull this all together and make it make sense under this title? Seriously? I'm talking to the universe, by the way, when I'm doing this. I'm like, really? Where is this going? Okay. I probably panicked the rest of that day and part of the next before I was finally able to grasp it and go, oh, whoa, Lena, stop it. Pump the brakes. This is what happens. It always works out. It always comes to you. Just chill out and relax. Now this is the fun part. I no more than get this thought out of my head when Mary texts me this little link. So I click on it. It loops me to this cute little thing, or this insightful and whatever. I read it and I enjoy it and I close it out. But it didn't take me back to a text. It looped me into an interview. It looped me into an interview between Theo Von and Tony Robbins. Ooh. Now, I don't know Theo Von from The Man on the Moon. I did look him up to find out that he is a comedian and has podcasts. I still don't know anything more about him, except for the fact that in this interview, I was still impressed with his authenticity and his vulnerability and his realism in this. So that's all I can attest to. And of course, we all know Tony Robbins and how that goes. But this is the beauty of it, is this 12-minute interview, as I listened to it, brought everything together and started helping me put it together into this talk. The universe works when we let it, because I was tense and panicking, but once I was breathe, it came. Okay, so Tony Robbins mentioned a term. I'm going to give him credit. I don't know where he got it, if it was something he made up, but he has a term that is called emotional home. And it is where we anchor ourselves. And the way he explained it is he said, think about this. He said, there's areas in the world that flood all the time and have tornadoes all the time and hurricanes all the time, but people still live there. We watch and see the destruction. We watch them rebuild, and a few years later it happens again. And then they rebuild, and it happens again. And they rebuild, and it happens again. And eventually you're like, why aren't you moving? Build someplace else. You know why? Because that's their emotional home. That's their anchor. They have chosen to root there because it's comfortable and they're used to it. And they know how to deal with it. Not necessarily healthy, beneficial, or productive. We do the same thing with our emotions. We hook and root ourselves in different emotions. And the thing of it is I love it because it's so interesting. Everybody has blocks and issues with feelings and emotions. But what's interesting is different people have different blocks with different emotions for different reasons. That's why it becomes a little bit muddy sometimes when you're trying to figure things out. Because think about it. If you grew up with an adult in your life that either had depression or anger, you then wrote that into your story somehow. And you either do one of two things. You're like, you jump in the boat and you go down the river with them. Or you're like, nope, I am never feeling sad or mad, not happening. I'm not ever going to go there, and we close ourselves off. Or possibly a combination of both. Domestic violence is another good example. Think about that. I mean, people sometimes proclaim to love each other very much, and yet they hurt each other tremendously. What do we pick up in that kind of a situation? That unacceptable behavior is acceptable because somebody says they love you? Oh yeah, let's see how that manifests in future relationships. That I can talk about. Unfortunately. Okay, so, and it doesn't have to always be that deep. Let's talk about, have you ever given somebody a present and you don't quite get the response that you're thinking they're gonna have? And the first thing you do is, I know they like that. They were just talking about it. Did I get the wrong size? Did I get the wrong color? Oh my God, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with them? Wherever you want to go with this. But maybe when they were growing up or in their story, presents gave leverage. They had a price. Maybe what could be given could be taken away. What could be built could be destroyed. Maybe it was shame and guilt based. We had to sacrifice for that, you know. Oh yeah, that makes you feel really good. Riding the bike down and you wreck it. I was the wrecker, by the way. And so anyway, just think about how different that all is and how interesting it is and how we write our story based on these different experiences. Okay, these were just a few examples. So how do we make it different? What do we need to do to shift this? What are some emotions that we can focus on and use and try to move us out of that? Love and gratitude. Those two things will pull you out of anything. They've actually proven that when people are in a bad place, if they can start going into a dialogue of gratitude, you just can't feel sad and angry when you're being grateful. Whether it's that you're here in this room, heart beating, lungs breathing, you're alive. Let's be grateful for that. Well, isn't it lovely that we have this amazing group to meet with? All these kind of things. Gratitude and love help us redirect those kinds of roads to a new emotional home and root us in different emotions so that hopefully when things come into our lives, those are the places that we go to love and to gratitude. It's going to help us move through those. So what are some things that we can do? I love Eckhart Tolle's Observer. It is just the greatest thing. And I want to stress something because somebody asked me a question about this. Becoming an observer is not disconnect. It is not disassociation. In fact, when we're talking about being the observer, it is actually stepping back and have a fuller, more connected view of it all, including yourself in the situation, so that you can kind of go, ooh, this is interesting. The key is without judgment, is to just look at it so that you can get into, I know who I can thank for this one. This feeling or thought or memory or whatever it is. Because then what we can try to do, when we step back, it's almost like we kind of take ourselves out of the fight. We take ourselves out of the drama, which allows us to accept what is without judgment and actually make a change of it. It takes emotions and situations that could be very scary and turns them into tools. When you're driving down the road and an engine or a dash light comes on, certain lights, you go, oh, holy crap, you pull over, right? Because you know those are not good and you need to call for help right now. I don't want to drive my car until I know what this is. Or it could be like, oh, I know what that is, never mind, I'll take care of it later. You know, it's the same thing. It's a tool, and it's depending on us how we react to it as to what it ends up doing to us emotionally and how we hang on to it. The thing, I'm just going to call it a cue, because I liked it and it fit. I don't know. But it's kind of a tap or a nudge that the universe gives us to try to get our attention. All right? So in life, no matter whether it's loss or a gain or a death or a birth, you know, you get married or you get divorced, you know, whatever, there's always these both sides. There's a range of emotions and processes that we go with every one of these, right? Now, if for some reason you're sensing that you are overfeeling or overreacting or underreacting, what that's cueing you to is that most likely there's a piece or a part of you stuck back in the history of your story. And you're operating from 5, 10, 12, whatever happened, whenever it happened. And again, without judgment, pay attention to this. This is something to look at. It's time to let this go. So I have a fun story. It's fun now anyway. So I was 22, close to graduating with my master's, renting this little house, 2-bedroom house. It was the most stable I had been in a long time, and I'm thinking about settling into a home. And I've got a cat, and I've got plants. And for some reason, this cat chose a plant, and it wouldn't leave it alone. I cannot tell you how many times I repotted, cleaned up, swept up, and saved this plant the best I could. I'm like, what am I going to do? Put it in the refrigerator or the pantry to try to keep you away from it? Come on, it needs to grow. And I'm just like, whatever. I still never knew. But this is the key. So one night I'm sleeping, and I start to come up, and I'm in that fuzzy between sleep and awake, and my mind is trying to discern the sounds that I'm hearing. Well, it hit me. It hit me. We're going to start off calling it anger, but we're going to get real and say rage. Welled up inside of me like a wave. I swear to God, I'm laying in bed, and I know it floofed my hair. It was so powerful. That's how it felt. And I stopped myself and said, this is not about the cat and the plant. Because yeah, I'm frustrated, and I don't understand this. But what I'm feeling is not about the cat and the plant. So I laid there, probably best thing for the cat, and began to think a little bit about what's going on here. And I just allowed myself to have a monologue. What do you got against this plant? Why do you want to hurt this plant? It's innocent, this poor thing. It has done nothing to you. The light went on in my head. No, not about the cat and the plant. It was about me and my mother. And the anger and the rage that I had been carrying wasn't mine to carry. And this awareness, because my mom was an unhealthy rager that didn't moderate her own emotions, so nobody was allowed to have emotions except for her rage, of course, but nobody. So this was stuff that I had been carrying for a long time. I mean, I was 22 when this happened. And I stopped, and what this allowed me to do was process it. I really am grateful that it was peaceful and calm and in the middle of the night, and I was able to just be there, but it was not mine to carry, and I could let it go. I could give that back to the universe. Give it back to her for that matter, doesn't matter, wherever it goes. And it allowed me to find a sweet spot of healing. That's what these cues, if you're paying attention, can do for us, to bring us into these awarenesses. So what we're basically talking about, they got a nice little term for it, they got a term for everything, right? Is emotional intelligence, okay? And there's some things that are wrapped up in emotional intelligence. The first one is your self-awareness. This is you allowing yourself to identify a feeling, no matter what. Do I feel abandoned? Do I feel betrayed? Am I hurt? Am I devastated? These are sometimes things that are hard for us to say, or we immediately blame ourselves, doubt, or question. But to just not do that, to just be in that feeling and that emotion and allow ourselves to have it. The second part of emotional intelligence is your emotional regulation. This is where you get to sit down with it and manage it. What am I going to do about it? How am I going to deal with this? How am I going to handle this? Now, the beautiful part of this to me is that when we do our work, what it allows us to do is be more empathetic to other people. Because when you're being hard on yourself about something and it's happening in front of you with somebody else, it's really hard sometimes to make that connection and be okay with it and not project in some way, shape, or form. The other thing that it does is it helps us connect and be more social of, I get it, I understand. That sounds like it hurt. Even if they say, well, no, it didn't hurt, but if it still leads them to an emotion that's in there, that's okay. It connects us, and it helps us deal with it in a healthy way. And that's the key. You don't want to be so compassionate that you allow people to use you as a floor mat. You don't want to be so understanding and empathetic that you compromise yourself. It's learning how to take what we truly are and where we truly are emotionally and make it a healing thing. Because when we bottle it up and ignore it and pretend it doesn't happen, that's when we make not so good choices. I have names for those. So, to face it and to feel it is a way to actually come up with smart, healthy ways to deal with it. And you're not losing anything. And I think it's funny because this relates, I think, what Tony said about the connection and the attachment we have to things. These negative feelings are not your friend. No matter how comfortable and used to them they are, they're not your friends. They actually create a lower vibration and hold you down, and you're not losing anything to let them go. So I was journaling one day, probably not that long after I had this episode with the Plan on Cafe, and I'm in a pity place, man. I am feeling it. I'm nobody's daughter. I don't have a mom. I don't have a dad. I don't belong anywhere. I am journaling some really yuck stuff, and then all of a sudden I stopped myself. I said, that's not true. I have got some amazing people in my life. And if anything, I am a child of the Creator. This just started flowing. I mean, I was letting it rip at first, and then it just went into this beautiful, no, Lena, you are the greatest expression of God that there could possibly be. And this is the reality, guys. No matter who, what, when, and how you've lived your life, you've probably been victimized at some time in some way. But it is your choice. It truly is. Do you stay there? Do you wallow in it? Do you let it ooze all the time? Do you let it, flow into other parts of your life? And let's anchor this spiritually in what it means to us in our day life. Because everything we're doing is spiritual, whether you think about it or not. The spiritual side of you and the human side of you are not two separate entities. They are truly connected, and the more you think that way, the healthier it is. So when you root it into your spirituality and understand that you are equipped completely and totally with these beautiful tools and to use them in good ways, it's going to move you in a different direction. It's very easy in life to get busy and distracted, isn't it? What I want to challenge us, your homework, how about you get busy and distracted in your devotion, in your devotion to love, into your devotion to gratitude, to be who you want to be. And this is not just about you, because when you do your work and you lift yourself in your vibration, that's what you're offering to the world, is a higher vibration. Namaste.